400 million years ago, the world was a very different place. Vast swamps and shallow seas stretched across the continents, teeming with strange fish armored in plates of bone, while giant arthropods scuttled in the shadows of primitive forests. Life belonged to the water, or so it seemed. Yet beneath the surface, an evolutionary drama was unfolding that would one day change the destiny of every creature to walk the earth. In the murky waters of a tidal river, a creature stirs. Its body is long and low, shaped like a fish, but its head is flat, with eyes set on top, peering upward into a world it does not yet belong to. This is Tiktaalik, a transitional form between fish and the first four-limbed vertebrates. It does not know it, but its struggle for survival will spark a revolution in life's history. As the water recedes with the turning tide, Tiktaalik finds itself trapped in the shallows. Predators lurk, giant lobe-finned fish, armored hunters ready to strike. The only escape lies forward, toward the muddy edge where water meets land. But the land is not safe either. Strange insects crawl on roots and moss. The air is heavy, unbreathable for most creatures of the deep. Yet Tiktaalik, with its strong fins and primitive lungs, hovers at the threshold of a decision. To remain in water is to risk death. To drag itself onto the mud is to enter the unknown. The water grows warmer as the sun beats down on the shallow river. Mud swirls in clouds around Tiktaalik's body as it stirs the bottom with its fins. The tide is slipping away, leaving behind pools of stagnant water that shrink with every hour. Fish less suited to the shallows writhe helplessly, their gills choking on the heavy oxygen-poor water. Some float, belly up, victims of a world in transition. Tiktaalik senses their distress. Its broad head tilts slightly, eyes breaking the surface as if searching for another world beyond the liquid curtain. For the first time, the air feels less like an invisible wall and more like an invitation. A shadow glides nearby. A larger predator, an armored placoderm, prowls the remaining depth. Its jaws, lined with bony plates, could crush through bone and scale with ease. Tiktaalik freezes, pressing its body low against the mud, its mottled skin blending with the silt. The predator passes, but the danger lingers like a weight pressing down. Here in the water, Tiktaalik is never safe. Driven by instinct more than choice, it angles its body toward the shallows. Each lobe fin pushes against the riverbed, not in the smooth motions of swimming but in awkward thrusts, more like crawling. The mud resists, sucking at its fins with every movement, yet still it drags forward. A few more strokes, and the surface breaks around its back. Its eyes now sit fully above the waterline, staring at a strange world of roots, moss, and pale ferns swaying in the breeze. The air is thick with the buzz of insects, creatures that have long since claimed the land as their own. Tiktaalik pauses, half submerged, gills still fluttering, primitive lungs straining to taste the atmosphere. The line between water and land is drawn across its body. Behind lies the realm of predators and suffocating currents. Ahead lies uncertainty, but also possibility. The mudbank waits, silent and patient. Somewhere deep in its ancient blood, a spark pushes it forward, an urge to climb, to test, to change. The mudbank feels alien beneath Tiktaalik's fins. Each movement is clumsy, its body swaying from side to side as it drags itself forward. The weight of its own form presses down harder here than in the water. Every push is a struggle against gravity, a force it has never fully known until now. The air carries sounds that water once swallowed, the rasp of insect wings, the hiss of wind through ferns, the faint splash of creatures still fighting in the shrinking pools behind. Tiktaalik's flat head rises, nostrils flaring. The air burns, raw and heavy, yet something within its body seizes it and holds it, a primitive breath that could mean survival. For a moment it freezes, sides heaving as its body adjusts. The gills flutter weakly, but the lungs take over. awkward and unsteady. Ahead, the ground glistens with damp moss. Small arthropods scatter across its path, spindly-legged insects that vanish into cracks between roots. Tiktaalik's eyes lock onto the movement, a flicker of curiosity blending with hunger. It lunges forward clumsily, snapping its wide mouth, but the prey escapes. Still, the attempt marks something new, the first gesture of a hunter learning to claim land. Behind, the armored predator prowls closer to shore, but it cannot follow where the water thins to mud. Tiktaalik does not know this, but its awkward crawl has placed it beyond the reach of its greatest threat. The bank is not without danger, yet for now, it is a refuge. It rests on the mud, chest rising and falling, the world around it sharp and strange in open air. The sun warms its skin, drying patches of slime that once kept it safe. For the first time, Tiktaalik lies at the boundary of two worlds, and in that fragile pause, the story of every creature yet to come is written. The mud clings to its scales, drying into cracks that flake beneath the sun. Tiktaalik shifts uneasily, fins splayed wide to support its weight. Each breath comes ragged, half gill, half lung, the two systems fighting for dominance, as if the body itself cannot decide which world it belongs to. The air shimmers with heat, carrying scents it has never known. Resin from ferns, the musk of damp soil, the faint tang of decaying plants rotting in stagnant pools. A rustle draws its gaze. Something small, glinting in the sunlight, scurries across the moss. It is a millipede, armored with rings of chitin, its legs rippling in waves. For Tiktaalik, the movement is irresistible. With an awkward surge, it lunges forward, jaws snapping shut. Mud splashes, the ground shakes beneath its bulk, but the insect slips away into a crack beneath a root. Tiktaalik misses, jaws clapping on emptiness. The attempt leaves it stranded, chest pressed to the ground, flanks heaving. Failure stings, but instinct whispers persistence. Behind, the river churns with violence. The placoderm predator thrashes, frustrated by the receding tide. Its massive head breaks the surface, eyes rolling toward the shore. Tiktaalik senses the vibrations through the mud, a low pulse that echoes in its bones. Danger is close, yet the shallow water forms a barrier the predator cannot cross. For once, the mudbank offers safety. A cloud of dragonflies buzzes overhead, their wings catching the light like shards of glass. One dips low and Tiktaalik's eyes track it with sudden intensity. The sky is alive just as the water once was, filled with prey beyond its reach. Hunger gnaws at its belly, sharper now that its movements have cost it energy. It stays still, head lifted, eyes watching the world unfold. Then comes the sound, the distant rumble of thunder. The sky darkens, clouds swelling heavy with rain. A storm is coming, and with it, the river will rise again. Tiktaalik stirs, caught between retreating to the water it knows or pressing further onto land it does not yet understand. Both choices carry risk. Both whisper of survival and death. The first drops fall heavy, striking the mud with sharp sounds that echo like drum beats. Tiktaalik flinches at each impact, its body quivering with the memory of splashes in the water. But this is different. The rain does not strike from below or around. It comes from the sky, 1,000 tiny impacts pattering against its scales. The mud softens beneath it, turning slick, easier to crawl across, yet treacherous. Each movement sends its body sliding sideways, fins scrabbling for purchase. The river, moments ago retreating, now swells with renewed force. Thin rivulets snake down into the shallows, filling depressions, carrying small fish gasping into new pools. The predator's shadow looms once again, drawn closer by the fresh surge of water. Tiktaalik senses it, the vibration returning through the softened ground, and instinct drives it forward. To remain too near the water is to be dragged back into death. It heaves itself up a slope of wet moss, fins digging like crude limbs. Gravity resists, pulling it down, but with each push, it gains a little more ground. Insects scatter before it, vanishing into crevices, their small bodies leaving faint trails that vanish in the rain. The air thickens, heavy with moisture, but the lungs within Tiktaalik's chest seize it eagerly. Breaths come deeper now, surer, though still clumsy. Each inhale is a gamble, yet survival demands the risk. A flash of lightning splits the sky, followed by a crack that makes the ground tremble. Tiktaalik freezes, its eyes wide, body pressed flat against the earth. The storm is unlike anything it has known in the muffled silence of the river. Here, the world is louder, harsher, filled with forces beyond its comprehension. But still it moves, urged onward by hunger, fear, and something deeper. An urge buried in its blood, older than thought. The slope levels out into a stretch of tangled roots. Here the ground is firmer, offering support to its weary body. Tiktaalik rests for a moment, chest rising and falling, water streaming down its back. For the first time, the water is not its prison. It is behind, growing wild, while ahead lies land that seems endless. The choice, though unspoken, has already been made. The storm rages, the sky opening as sheets of water hammer the land. Pools form in every hollow, linking into streams that cut across the mud. Tiktaalik presses forward, drawn by instinct, half crawling, half sliding, its fins braced against roots slick with moss. Each push takes immense effort, but its body adapts, fins acting less like paddles, more like crude limbs. Muscles strain, bones shift under pressure, as if the very act of survival is chiseling a new blueprint into its flesh. In the dim light of the storm, movement stirs at the edge of its vision. A giant centipede, glistening and black, coils out from beneath a fern, its antennae flicking. It is longer than Tiktaalik's head, armored, dangerous. The air carries the sharp tang of its presence, unfamiliar, yet threatening. Tiktaalik freezes, head low, its eyes fixed. The insect raises its front legs, a silent warning. The world on land has predators too. The encounter ends as suddenly as it begins. The centipede scuttles away into the roots, and silence returns, except for the drumming rain. Tiktaalik exhales through its spiracles, chest shuddering, the moment seared into memory. This place is not safety. It is a new arena with dangers as strange as its opportunities. The rain begins to ease. A gray light breaks through the clouds, shimmering across the soaked earth. Steam rises from the ground, carrying the scent of wet soil and fresh decay. Tiktaalik lifts its head higher, nostrils flaring, tasting the air as if testing its claim to it. Hunger gnaws again, sharper than fear. Insects crawl across the soaked moss, smaller this time, within reach. Tiktaalik lunges, body slamming forward, jaws snapping shut. This time, it does not miss. The insect crunches between bony plates, its legs kicking briefly before going still. A primitive meal, awkwardly won, yet it is the first. The taste is strange, dry compared to fish flesh, but nourishing. Tiktaalik swallows, and something within shifts. On this mud bank, with the storm fading and water lapping below, it is taken from the land for the very first time. The act is small, but its echo will carry for millions of years. The crunch of the insect fades, but its meaning lingers. For the first time, the land has offered food, and Tiktaalik has taken it. Its body trembles, not from weakness alone, but from the unfamiliar strain of muscles forced into new roles. The fins, once meant only for swimming, spread wide beneath its weight, pressing against the earth, holding it steady against gravity's pull. Each movement is awkward, clumsy, but with every attempt the creature learns. The rain has passed, leaving the forest dripping with water. Drops fall from ferns like beads of glass, striking the mud with gentle plinks. The air is thick, alive with sound, chirps, buzzes, the endless hiss of hidden life. Tiktaalik turns its head slowly, eyes scanning. In the water it was prey, hunted by armored jaws that lurked unseen. Here, on the mud, it is vulnerable still, yet the dangers reveal themselves in plain sight. The ground slopes upward, leading into a tangle of roots and moss. Driven by hunger and an urge deeper than thought, it pushes onward. The climb is painful, every muscle straining, but with each shove, the body rises higher. Gravity seems less of an enemy and more of a test. At the crest of the slope, a shallow hollow holds a pool of rainwater. Small fish, stranded by the storm, dart frantically within it. Tiktaalik pauses, sides heaving, eyes locked on the shimmering shapes. Instinct surges. With one final push, it lunges, half diving, half collapsing into the pool. Mud and water explode around it. Its jaws snap, and this time the familiar taste of fish fills its mouth. Relief spreads through its body. Land may offer new food, but water still provides what it knows best. When it surfaces, rain dripping from its scales, the world feels changed. Behind it, the river rages with predators. Ahead, the forest rises with mysteries yet unseen. Tiktaalik lies at the threshold, not fully fish, not yet something more, but in its struggle to live between two realms, it has begun a story far greater than itself. The pool grows restless as Tiktaalik stirs within it, the trapped fish scattering in desperate bursts of silver. Its jaws snap again, capturing another, but soon the water is still. What remains is silence and mud, the meal already swallowed. Tiktaalik lingers, chest rising and falling, but something pulls its gaze upward. The air, thick with mist from the storm, glows faintly as sunlight pushes through the clouds. Shafts of light pierce the canopy, illuminating the dripping forest. Insects swarm in the golden haze, a moving sky of wings and sound. The pool will not last. Already the water seeps back into the soil, shrinking into damp patches. Tiktaalik shifts, uneasy, sensing that staying means death. Its fins brace once more, pressing into the mud, lifting its chest higher than before. The motion is slow, clumsy, yet more certain now, as if each attempt builds memory within its body. It crawls forward, dragging its tail, the marks etched into the wet ground like the first script of a new age. A shadow flickers above. A giant dragonfly, wings wide and strong, dips low before veering away. Tiktaalik's eyes follow it hungrily, but the air denies such prey. Frustration rumbles deep in its throat, a primitive sound, but hunger sharpens the will to move on. The forest ahead grows darker, roots tangled thick across the ground. Among them, movement stirs, a glistening shape winding through the damp earth. It is another arthropod, larger this time, its body armored in plates, its mandibles twitching. Tiktaalik freezes, body pressed flat, instinct screaming caution. On land, it has no armor, no speed, only its weight and its will. The insect turns, antennae sweeping, but then scuttles deeper into the roots. Danger passes, but the lesson remains. This new world holds hunters too. The air grows warmer as the storm clouds break fully. Steam coils upward from the ground, clinging to Tiktaalik's skin. The lungs work harder now, each breath steadier, less desperate. What was once painful becomes almost natural. Step by awkward step, it moves further from the shrinking pool, deeper into the strange land, leaving behind the water that shaped it. The forest is alive with a chorus Tiktaalik has never heard. Every step across the damp ground stirs vibrations that echo in its bones. The air hums with the whine of wings, the click of mandibles, the hiss of unseen creatures hidden in the undergrowth. Its eyes, once trained only on the filtered blur of light through water, now catch the shifting play of shadow and brightness among the roots and ferns. Each detail is sharp, unsoftened by the muffling embrace of the river. The world feels overwhelming, a storm of sensation pressing against every sense. Its body strains under the effort of forward motion. The fins push awkwardly, their muscles trembling, yet each shove lifts its body higher than the last. The weight is crushing, but the instinct to move, to explore, is stronger. Hunger gnaws still, a constant reminder that survival depends not only on reaching new ground, but on mastering it. Ahead, the land dips into a shallow basin where rainwater lingers, forming a mirror of sky and the earth. Small creatures dart at the edges, strange wriggling forms with too many legs, vulnerable and slow. Tiktaalik's head tilts, jaws opening slightly. The motion is deliberate now, not frantic, but measured. It lunges, snapping down on one of the wrigglers, and this time it succeeds. The flesh is soft, unfamiliar, but nourishing. A second meal on land. The act cements something unseen. The boundary between worlds has blurred, but danger remains close. From the trees above comes a low rustle, a weight shifting among the branches. A large arthropod, its body gleaming black, lowers itself along a fern trunk, its many eyes glinting in the light. Tiktaalik senses it before it strikes, muscles tensing. The insect lunges, but clumsy as it is, Tiktaalik twists aside, mud splattering as it crashes against the roots. The predator recoils, legs flailing before retreating upward again. Tiktaalik shudders, sides heaving, the taste of fear bitter in its throat. Yet, in the aftermath, it does not return to water. Instead, it presses forward, deeper onto the land, as if some hidden compass within demands it. Behind lies the safety of the old world, but already it feels distant. Ahead lies struggle, but also possibility. The ground beneath Tiktaalik grows firmer as it climbs away from the soaked basin. Each movement stretches its body in ways it was never shaped for, yet something in its muscles seems to adapt, remembering with each attempt how to push, how to brace, how to balance. Its tail drags a wavering trail behind, marking the passage of a creature half belonging to water, half claiming the land. The forest stretches upward in towering ferns, their fronds dripping with the last of the rain. Shafts of pale light spear through gaps in the canopy, painting the mud in shifting patterns. The air is heavier here, still and damp, but no longer suffocating. Tiktaalik lifts its head higher, eyes scanning, nostrils widening as if to taste this strange new realm. Every sound sharpens, crickets clicking, beetles scuttling, wings slicing the humid air. It blinks slowly, the world sharper, harsher, yet familiar in its own rhythm. Movement catches its gaze again, not above this time, but ahead, near a fallen log dark with moss. A cluster of tiny creatures swarm there, pale bodies wriggling, feeding on decayed plant matter. Tiktaalik creeps closer, its fins digging shallow grooves into the soil. Hunger drives it, but so does curiosity. With a sudden lunge, it snaps, jaws closing around several at once. The taste is bitter, earthy, yet it swallows eagerly. The land yields another meal. For a moment there is quiet. No predator lunges from the shadows. No storm lashes from above. Tiktaalik rests against the log, body rising and falling, and in that fragile pause, the land feels less like a trial and more like a possibility. It does not know what it is becoming, but each step binds it closer to the world above water. Behind, the river roars faintly, its current surging with life that once held Tiktaalik captive. Ahead, the forest deepens, its shadows hiding threats and opportunities alike. The creature lingers, balanced at the edge of decision before pressing onward, further from the life it has always known. The light fades as Tiktaalik pushes further, swallowed by the tangle of giant ferns. The ground is uneven here, ridged with roots that twist like muscles through the soil. Each rise forces its body upward, each hollow drags it down again, yet the rhythm becomes steadier. Its fins, pressed flat, find purchase against the rough bark of fallen trunks, hauling its weight in jerks and pauses. The effort burns through its muscles, but something deeper keeps urging it forward. The air grows warmer, dense with the scent of damp vegetation and decay. Clouds of tiny insects drift through the undergrowth, their wings catching fragments of light like sparks. Tiktaalik pauses, sides heaving, eyes wide. The forest sings around it, chirps, clicks, and low vibrations that rumble through the ground. It has entered a world that does not sleep, A world as alive as the river, but stranger, sharper, more demanding. From the shadows, a ripple of movement. A creature unlike those of the water slithers across the mud, long and thin, scales glistening with rain. It is not fish, not insect, but something between. A primitive amphibian, smaller, quicker, built for this realm. Tiktaalik freezes, watching as the creature darts into a hollow log, its body flowing with practiced ease. The sight is both alien and familiar, like a reflection of what Tiktaalik itself might become. Hunger gnaws again, twisting its gut. It lowers its head to the soil, jaws opening to snap at a beetle crawling across a fern root. The shell cracks, bitter and sharp, but the nourishment steadies it. It swallows, then lifts its head once more. The world smells richer now, layers of damp earth, plant resin, and the musk of unseen animals. A low tremor runs through the ground. Tiktaalik stiffens, fins braced. From deeper in the forest comes the sound of something heavy shifting, branches cracking under its weight. The noise is steady, deliberate, closer with each beat. Tiktaalik does not yet understand predators of land, but its body knows danger. It presses low against the mud, every sense straining. The forest holds its breath. The tremor swells into a series of thuds, not a single giant but a cascade of weight sliding through wet earth, roots giving way, a sodden trunk surrendering to gravity. Tiktaalik flattens itself as the forest ahead loosens with a cracking sigh. A fallen fern tree rolls, its armored bark grinding the mud. The log misses by the width of its skull and slams into a hollow below, sending a fan of black water over Tiktaalik's back. The splash stings, but the danger passes, and in the hush that follows, the forest's sounds return, tentative at first, then confident, as if the land itself has exhaled. Tiktaalik lifts its head. The path ahead is different now. The toppled trunk forms a low ramp, ridged with cross-hatching that promises purchase. It edges closer, sets a fin, presses. Fibers bite against skin, holding. The next push is easier. The world is beginning to offer shapes it can use. On the far side of the log, a shallow swale holds a chain of puddles linked by trickles. The storm has carved new routes for water to roam, and along these fresh veins, small lives are stranded. Larvae thrash near the surface. Pale worms knot and unknot themselves in frantic loops. Tiktaalik slides down the log's far flank and lets its weight carry it to the rim of the first pool. The surface dimples with the faintest breeze. It waits, eyes forward, motionless but coiled. A larva rises to breathe, the water breaking around a tiny tube. Tiktaalik strikes. The jaw's closing crack is soft compared to the armored prey of the river, but the morsel's resistance is real, different, a tug from a world of air rather than current. Swallowing is clumsy without buoyancy. The throat works, and the meal descends. The second pool is deeper, tinted tea-brown by soaked plant matter. Something stirs within it, broad-headed, patient, a body that inhales, and then is still. Tiktaalik feels the old tension return, the river's grammar spoken again in this isolated page of water. It slides in sideways, not fully committing. A shadow answers, with a glide. The ambusher is lungfish-like, a slow thinker with quick jaws, content to let prey deliver itself. Tiktaalik holds, then withdraws, dragging its belly over the lip, and the hidden mouth snaps at the emptiness where it had just been. Mud leaps, then settles. Tiktaalik remains on the bank, breathing hard, feeling the weight of its own survival. Heat gathers as the storm's cold is drawn away by a sun intent on reclaiming the day. Steam rises in ribbons. Drying begins as an ache along the skin, a pulling tightness that warns against lingering too far from dampness. It moves again, keeping to where moss gleams, where puddles reflect ferns, mapping a new kind of shoreline that is not the river's edge, but the boundary between wet and dry. At a break in the roots, the ground dips into a grotto of stone, a rare outcrop in this world of soil and fiber. The rock's face is slick with a thin sheet of water that seeps from the forest's heart. Tiktaalik noses into the runnel, lets it course over its gills and down its sides, cooling, easing the pull of desiccation. The small cave beneath the slab smells of mineral and old leaf. It is dark, defensible, a place where its back can press to stone and its gaze can command a single opening. The river had refuges like this, under banks, among roots. Land does too. The similarity soothes something ancient inside it. Time stretches, light shifts from the harsh white of noon toward a warmer angle. With it, the forest's chorus changes. Fewer wings, more steps, the soft teletype of legs across bark. Hunger returns not as a spike, but a throb. Tiktaalik eases from the runnel and works parallel to the stone, the better to keep one flank wet. A column of ants-like creatures negotiates a ridge of decaying wood, turning neatly around a beetle that stands its ground, mandibles high. Tiktaalik ignores the line and ambushes the solitary beetle with a short, sure snap. Shell crunches. Bitterness floods its mouth. The body yields. The meal is small, but each success writes a rule. Where to place the skull, to pin wriggling prey. How far the neck will swivel before balance fails. How much rest the new muscles need before they tremble. As afternoon ripens, a breeze threads the understory, cool enough to raise a ripple along Tiktaalik's skin. The air carries a smell that is neither plant nor rot, iron wet and animal. A slick, soft-bellied shape pulls itself along a neighboring seep, eyes bright, limbs stubby but purposeful. It is not fish. It is not insect. It is the other version of the experiment Tiktaalik's body has begun. A primitive tetrapod, smaller but surer on land, its wrists taking weight with a confidence Tiktaalik does not yet possess. They regard one another for a long beat, two answers to the same question, before the smaller creature slides past, vanishing into a mat of horsetails. Tiktaalik does not follow. The encounter leaves a wake inside it, an imprint without words. There are ways to be here. Shadows lengthen. With evening comes a gentler peril. Cold. The air thins its warmth. Breath fogs faintly. Muscles that had found a rhythm stiffen. In water, night cools but does not command. On land, the drop bites. The grotto's seep offers not only moisture but thermal memory. The stone gives back heat it gathered at noon. Tiktaalik returns, arranges itself so that the trickle threads the groove along its gill covers, and stills. The world beyond the cave mouth brightens briefly as the clouds flare. With a dusk, the river would have diluted. Above, wings again, hunting flights now, purposeful arcs. Something skitters past the opening, and is gone. Tiktaalik's eyes half close. In stillness, its body records the day's lessons. Darkness completes itself. The forest's language shifts one more time, down to the register of touch and tremor. Tiktaalik dreams as fish do, in pulses. The logs rasp, the pools trap, the new strength in the fin bones when pressed just so against roughness. When dawn dilutes the black, a chorus arrives with it. First, the hiss of small lives warming, then the pluck and tick of steps. Tiktaalik slides from the seep. Cool air rushes its lungs. The shock steadies into breath. A low fog holds close to the ground, beating its skin, buying it time before the day begins to pull moisture away again. The route back toward the river is not a retreat but a reconnaissance. The bank is calmer than the night of the storm, the water high but mending. Where the main current bends, a fan of silt has built a flat, a margin neither river nor forest. The placoderm prowls the deeper run, a hulking outline that will not cross the braided shallows. Here, in the ankle of the river, small fish dare to stray. Here, insects blown from the banks dimple the surface and spin. Tiktaalik slides into the thinnest water, the sheet no deeper than its belly, and rests its weight on sand while its skull rides in air. It can feel current without surrendering to it. It can breathe water if it must, air if it chooses. The ambiguity is a shield. A ripple to its right, a struggling fish the size of its snout, trapped in too little depth, flipping sand into glints. Tiktaalik pivots, not with a sweep of tail alone, but with a planted fin that anchors and turns the body in a tight, deliberate arc. The strike is short, the bite secure. It swallows, then holds position as the placoderm's shadow cruises the far edge, jaws opening and closing on nothing as if tasting the faintest rumor of prey. Tiktaalik lowers its profile, lets the shallow veil it. The giant moves on. The flat teaches new tricks. By noon, Tiktaalik can scull forward without floating, can brace its front fins to lift the skull, clear of eddies that flick grit into its eyes. It learns to wait where the water hesitates, to feed at the seam where river brings life and land offers it no escape. When heat grows rude and the skin complains, the seep waits upriver with its stone and shade. Between the two, a corridor of practice forms. Damp, safe enough, rich. Days, whatever a Devonian day means in a body that counts by hunger and tiredness, stack like stones. The muscles along the chest thicken. The joints within the fins, once only hinges for sculling, begin to suggest separate pieces that concede and take load in turn. The neck learns the luxury of independence, swiveling to track a dragonfly's shadow without the tail's drag. The skull finds the angle that pins grubs against bark. Breaths through the spiracles become less emergencies and more tools, held and spent on purpose. None of it is thought. All of it is change. And then, as if the world has waited for this competence, it tests it. The sky darkens again, not with the wild violence of the first storm, but with a broad, patient rain that threatens endurance rather than offering drama. The river swells just enough to push the flat under a constant lace of current. The placoderm's patrol swings closer. In the forest, cool fails to arrive. The air stays hot, heavy, greedy for water. The seep thins. The corridor narrows to a question. Commit to the river and its hunters, or commit to the land and its thirst. Tiktaalik chooses neither, and both. It climbs to a low rock that shoulders from the bank like a tooth, its top planed by ancient floods. The surface is rough enough to hold fins, low enough that each wave's lip kisses its belly. Here, it can breathe what it wants. Here, it can feel the stories of both worlds at once. The river's push against its ribs, the forest's heat on its skull, the glitter of mayflies' bodies when a breeze mistakes them for leaves and lays them down in reach. It waits, and feeds, and rests, and endures, and in the quiet between waves the record of its body alters one more fraction toward a shape that will one day stride where it can only brace and drag. Evening comes with a clarity that the days before did not own. The rain slackens, the river's voice lowers. Far out, deeper than Tiktaalik will go, the placoderm turns and does not return. In the undergrowth, a chorus swells and resolves into separate instruments, trills, rattles, wing beats. Tiktaalik eases from the tooth of stone, slides along the seam of wetness that memorizes its route, and climbs the seep to the rock's covered mouth. It settles in the same groove its body has polished smoother each night. The trickle writes its thin line down the slope of its head. The air cools. The lungs and gills both grow quiet. In the cave's shallow dark, between water and land, the story that began as a desperate crawl becomes simply the way it lives. Morning comes quietly, the kind of light that does not dazzle but grows slowly, filling the forest with a pale shimmer. Mist coils over the river, hiding the deeper channels where hunters patrol, but the shallows lie clear and still. Tiktaalik stirs within its shelter, fins pressing against the damp stone, body heavy, yet steady. It pushes forward, sliding out into the soft glow, and pauses on the edge where rock and soil meet. The air is cool, the ground moist, and for the first time, the choice to move feels less like desperation and more like belonging. It does not return to the deeper water. Instead, it crawls along the mudflat, each movement surer, more deliberate. The fins brace and lift, the chest rises, the head swings with purpose. Clumsy still, but no longer random. Every motion is a rehearsal for something greater. A beetle crosses its path, and with a swift snap, Tiktaalik claims it. The act is simple, but it seals the truth. The land has become a hunting ground. From the forest edge, a chorus swells, wings buzzing, legs clicking, the hidden symphony of countless small lives. Tiktaalik moves toward it, drawn not by fear, but by instinct that feels almost like promise. It does not know that others will follow, that the marks it leaves in the mud will one day echo in the bones of creatures far beyond its own shape. It knows only the pull to go forward, away from the river's prison, into a world harsh yet full of possibility. The sun climbs higher, burning away the mist. Tiktaalik stops on a patch of firm ground, half in shadow, half in light. Behind it lies water, familiar yet dangerous. Ahead lies forest, unknown yet rich. It lifts its head, nostrils flaring, lungs filling with air that no fish before it had claimed so fully. For a moment the creature is still, balanced on the edge of two worlds. Then, with a slow, awkward crawl, it chooses the land. The mud records its passage in wavering lines. The river flows on, unaware. The forest waits, alive with predators and prey, challenge and chance. In the quiet, beneath the weight of the Devonian sky, a revolution begins not with thunder or fire, but with a steady pull of muscle against earth, with a single step taken where none had been before. And so the story closes, not with an end, but with a beginning, the first breath of a lineage that will one day walk, run, and dream beneath the sun. If this journey into the deep past moved you, if watching Tiktaalik's first steps onto land made you imagine the fragile beginnings of our own story, then stay with us. There are countless more tales hidden in the ancient earth. Predators that ruled the skies, giants that thundered across plains, and creatures so strange they defy belief. Subscribe to Ancient Beast Behavior, join the expedition, and together we'll uncover the forgotten battles and fragile triumphs that shaped all life on this planet. Don't just watch history, step into it with us.